Really want to apologize for not being on last week Sunday. Um, the last time I was on, uh, all right. I am so happy to be here, guys. I want to apologize because of the glitches that we have been having. Um, but I'm excited to be here another evening, and I'm just giving some few persons some time to jump on. I want you to go ahead and send this link out to somebody. Not gonna be on long tonight. Last week, Sunday, I really wanted to be here, but I couldn't be here. I was over in Westmoreland and uh, trying to get back in time. It was difficult for me to do so. So there's no way for me to tell persons that really what was happening. So I really want to apologize for that. And then tomorrow, Sunday, I won't be available because I will be traveling. So I thought it fit just to jump on this evening, return to the seed. Nice to have you. Just go ahead and share the link with somebody. Um, I did say that I wanted to start last week with just persons sharing their testimonies. Uh, I did give a person's, oh, it's Davina. Hey, Davina, wonderful. I did give persons a challenge last week. We've been having phenomenal experiences. I wanted to share some of those experiences with you. So if you know of anybody who is really sick, what I want to share with you is, some information that's going to revolutionize and transform the way persons think. Last week we talked about the cellular hydration protocol, the cellular hydration protocol. And the Cellular Hydration Protocol is a series of presentations that I'm doing for my upcoming book, which is now on Amazon. It's entitled the Cellular Hydration Revolution. If you're watching on YouTube, the book, the link is in the description of this video, and it's going to be phenomenal. There's actually two books. There's the Jamaican recipe guide, and I'll tell you more about it and why they are phenomenal. Um, we've been told a lot that one of the reasons why people are sick is because of mucus, and we hear this whole talk about pH, and it's almost as if it's where a lot of persons are still eluded as to how they can get better. Last week I shared a very simple. A week before last, I shared a very simple uh, principle with you, and I just want to share with you some texts, some messages that I got. This was from one person, and I just want to send my condolences this evening. I'm not going to call her name, but I don't know if she's watching, but she just messaged me to tell me that her husband died. So I really want to convey my condolences to her. She really wanted her husband to see me, and I'm sorry that um, that not happened. Uh, but I want to share a text that she sent me, and maybe a voice note that she sent me for later on. Um, she says, "Good afternoon, Doctor Ben. And this is the next day. I started the Celtic salt water this morning. Today is the first day in 2 years. I am not tired at this time of day. I have spent thousands of dollars going to naturopathic doctors, buying vitamins and herbs, etc. I'm energized. Usually I would be sleeping, lethargic, and cranky in the afternoon. I'm about to mop my floors now. I pray God continues to bless you with wisdom and knowledge to fulfill His purpose on the earth. God bless you, sir. I'm coming to see you when I come to Jamaica. Blessings." And this is a challenge that I shared. I'm going to share it tonight again. So, as I said, if you know of anybody who is really sick, um, tonight I'm going to share some information that is going to completely revolutionize your life. And I wanna talk to you from uh, the book, a new book that's out. It's on Amazon. It's called the Cellular Hydration Protocol, and I'm doing a series, and I'm going to tell you a lot more. I'm not just doing a teaching, I'm doing a lot more on it. And I want to talk to you the science of cellular voltage and hydration. And I want to share some of that with you this evening. Now, one thing I want to say is that why voltage matters. My very good friend um, would say why context matters. Um, uh, why context matters. And so voltage matters because voltage equals life. And so weak voltage equals disease, no voltage equals death. Now, I want to talk to you because I want to use the analogy. I'm going to use the analogy of the vehicle, but I want to use this analogy first. Now, we were always told that the body is about 75 or 70% water. And I'm going to submit to you that's not entirely true. When we are born, when a baby is born, a baby is about 70% water. Now listen to this. An adult is anywhere from about 65 to 60% water during our adult years. So when we are born, we are 70% water. By the time we become adults, we are about good night. Oh, Ivan, good night. You're here. We're about 60% to 65% water. And when we reach around about age 70, 75, we're about 47 to 50% water. So I want you to understand that from the time we were born until the time we get old, it appears as if we are on a journey of dehydration. So when we are born, we are hydrated. And as we get older, we become more dehydrated. I want you to also pay attention to the fact that when a baby is born, when we are born, we tend to be plumpy, very soft, very hydrated. And by the time we get in our 70s and our 80s, most times what happens is we develop a lot of shrivel, or what we would call it here in Jamaica, a lot of aging on our skin. So you look at that, and a person who is in their 80 or their 90, or the older you get, when you look at their skin, the big difference between a person that is advanced in age and a person that is young is the skin. So one is plumpy and soft, and one is dry and withered. Now, I want you to understand that because I want you to think about a plum. So you get a plum that you just pick, and that plum that you just pick is hydrated. It is filled out. And if you take a plum and put it in the sun for a couple of days, what happens is the sun dehydrates that plum, and that plum now begins to wither. And so what I want to share with you is that we've been having some phenomenal results from our protocol, and I want to share that with you. In our herbal clinic, both in Portland and in St. Thomas, we have persons who have been having erectile dysfunction issues, persons who are having enlarged prostate, persons who are having blood pressure, persons who have been having a number of ailments that they begin to revive and their health begins to increase dramatically in a matter of days. In just a matter of days, their health begins to increase. Because what we have been told, and I was one of them, there's two fundamental approaches to medicine and healing. And I want to share with you, if you know of anybody who is in the healing space, I want you to get that person on. Anybody who's a herbalist, I want to get you on. Because tonight I want to share with you, why the results or the results that you get are so inconsistent as it relates to person's recovery? Why is it that there is so much inconsistency as it relates to recovery? And I'm going to use the analogy, and I like to use the analogy of the battery. Now, I want you to imagine what happens if you have a car, if you have a vehicle, and you mistakenly went into the house and left the headlight on, or you just left the vehicle roof light on, and the next morning you come out, what happens to that vehicle? Come on, talk to me. You can put it in the chat. What happens to that vehicle? You try to start it, and the vehicle can't start. What happens to the vehicle? What happens to the vehicle is not that the battery is dead, but the battery is run down. It's very important for you to make a distinction. The battery in the car is not dead, so the car is full of gas, the car is working, but because you left the light on extensively through the night, when you came back to start that vehicle, the car is not able to move in the morning. So you try to turn over the engine, and the engine won't turn over. You're trying to turn on the headlight comes on. You try to blow the horn comes on. You try to wind up the window goes up and comes down, but the car won't turn over. The reason the car engine won't turn over is because the manufacturer of the car created the car with a specific voltage requirement needed for the engine to turn over. All right? So, thank you, Pauline. Come on, talk to me, guys. Talk to me. So, the battery is not dead. It's just that the voltage is low. The voltage is below the minimum voltage required for the engine to turn over. But it's not below the minimum voltage required for the headlight to come on, for the horn to be blown, for the radio to be turned on, for the windows to be wound up. But it is below the minimum voltage required for the engine to turn over. Now, if you continue to try to turn over that engine, that battery voltage will even drop lower. Soon, you will not be able to turn on the headlamp. You will not be able to turn on the light, or to turn on, or to get those previous functions that were working prior to the voltage dropping lower. Now, the fact that and I want to share with you how Western medicine thinks. The fact that the voltage is below the minimum amount required for the engine to turn over does not mean that the car has an ignition problem. But in our medical system, what they would do is they would create a name for the inability of the ignition to turn over. And they would create a name and treat it as a separate new problem. Because you've been trying to turn over the engine and the voltage dropped lower, the headlight that used to come on prior to the voltage dropping lower is now not able to be turned on. Our modern medicine would create a name for that new problem and suggest an independent treatment for the light that is not coming on. The horn that was being blown initially, that is now not blowing, would also receive a name, and it would also receive a treatment for that new problem. Now, I want you to reason out. Is it that the car has an ignition problem? Is it that the car has a headlight problem? Is it that the car has a window problem? No. The car has none of these problems. The car has one root problem, and that root problem is a low voltage in the battery. And that low voltage can easily be remedied by jump starting or recharging the battery. So you can get a jumper cable from a battery that is up and running. You connect it to that battery that is not that is experiencing low voltage, and one click, the ignition comes on. Now, if it is that the low voltage was responsible for these additional problems, then it is safe enough to believe that it should not come as a surprise that once the battery receives either a new charge or a jump start, it works. That is how healing is supposed to be. It is not supposed to be left to chance. It is not supposed to be left to speculation. As long as you are doing the right thing, just like how the car ignition gets started, and just like how the headlamp comes on, and just like how the light comes on, that is how your healing is supposed to work. Now, I want you to understand that just like how that car has a battery, the human body is made up of over 150 cells, and those cells are also functioning like a battery. So at the basic unit, at our basic unit, we are operated by cells, and these cells, just like how the car battery can run down, our cells can run down. As a matter of fact, what I want to talk to you about this evening is getting to the root cause. And if what I'm saying is accurate, if what I'm saying is true, then what it means is that most people who think they have a new independent disease don't know, I don't understand that at the core of your disease is you're suffering from a low voltage. And once the cells becomes re-energized, then what happens is that those symptoms begin to reverse and should be reversed quickly. And so that's what I want to talk to you about this evening, as I share with you on this powerful understanding. You see, there are basically two approaches to sickness. One is a biochemical approach. And a biochemical approach is sadly what the Western medicine uses, but it is also what a lot of herbalists use. The biological or the biochemical approach assumes that when a person is sick or when a person is acidic, what they need is a particular chemical, whether it be a supplement or whether it be a herb or whether it be some form of intervention to get the person better. No. This approach obviously brings result because we see person who goes to the medical doctor, they take the biochemical substance in the form of a pill or in the form of some form of medicine, and they do get some relief. There are persons who are sick who go to their herbalist, and when they go to their herbalist will give them some form of herb, whether it be a detox, whether it be a tonic, or whether it be some form of medicine, and they do get results. But here is the problem. The problem is that the results are not consistent. In other words, sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't work. And the reason why I'm doing this presentation is Nobody can receive healing until the cellular voltage is within the range for that person to receive healing. What I'm going to share with you tonight is that just like how the ignition needs a minimum voltage for the ignition to turn over, the cells in your body needs a minimum voltage in order to clean itself, in order to detoxify. And so I'm going to share with you what those voltage is and how you can get your cells up into that voltage. So healing is an electrical system, or healing starts out electrical rather than biochemical. This is what set Dr. Sebi apart, because Dr. Sebi was one of the first well-known healer who approached healing from an electrical perspective and not a biochemical perspective. And so he understood that it doesn't matter how good a quality herb or supplement you have, if the cells are too weak, then they can't use it. Every hormonal and biochemical communication in the body is triggered by electricity. For the body to heal itself, repair itself, it needs electricity. For the cells to divide, you're not hearing me? For the cells to divide, there has to be electricity. For nutrients to be transported, there has to be electricity. For there to be structural integrity, there has to be electricity. And so once a lot of people who are sick are not really sick, what they're suffering from is really a low voltage. And this is why voltage matters. And so we say, what creates voltage? And these are the things that creates voltage: water, minerals, oxygen, pH, and the mitochondria. In the body, the primary conductor of electricity is water. And so there has to be water inside the cells. Water acts like what I call a liquid crystal that carries charges. Now, I want you to understand that there is normal water. And this is also one of the reasons why so many people are sick. Because one of the reasons why so many people are sick is because of the type of water that they drink and how they drink that water. In the human body and also in life on a whole, every living thing, water exists in the cells as a gel. Right? So water exists in the cells as a gel. So if you were to put your hand in your mouth and take it out and go like this, the water would form a string. If you were to put your hand collect some blood and put your hand like this, it would form a string. If you had mucus coming out your nostril and you were to put your hand like this, it would form a string. If you got some tuna, put your hand like this, it would form a string. Aloe vera would form a string. Okra, it would form a string. Nearly every living thing, water exists in the cells as a gel. It is called structured water. And it is H3O2. So it's 3 parts of hydrogen and 2 parts of oxygen. And so it is alkaline, and this is the water that makes up the walls of your cells. All right, good. This is the water that makes up the walls of your cells. However, when somebody becomes dehydrated, what happens is that the wall becomes altered. Instead of it being nice and expansive, it's contracted, and in some cases, it becomes hardened. Now, when the cells become hardened, it prevents waste from coming out, and it prevents nutrients from coming in. When this happens, this is the start of nearly all disease. And so once this begins to happen, then your health is going to be on the decline. And so water is one of the key elements needed for there to be voltage. We see so many persons, we ask them, we say, do you drink water? Yes, I drink water. But guess what? Most people drink bottled water. Most people drink boiled water. And that water, though it may be clean, because that's what the world emphasizes on, the system emphasizes on clean water, not on living water. So the emphasis that people place is not how alive the water is, it is how clean it is. And in most cases, the process that most of the water that you drink goes through, the process kills the water. And so the water is not structured. The water doesn't have any structure. The water is not able to hydrate you. Because most people think that hydration is based on how dry or how wet one's mouth is. Most people determine hydration based on what's happening in the mouth. But what I want to share with you is that hydration is much more than that. And hydration, how hydration affects different parts of the body differs. Right? And so one of the key elements of voltage is water. As a matter of fact, this is how we were designed for voltage to get into the cells. Voltage was supposed to be introduced into the cells through water. And so one of the reasons why most people are sick is because you're drinking the wrong type of water. And I always the persons that, if water equals life, then if a person is sick, person is losing their life. So if water equals life, shouldn't the first treatment be water? Because the root of the ailment is an electrical short circuit, low voltage. So most of the persons who have diabetes, all the symptoms of diabetes, just go back to your textbook and think about it. All the symptoms of diabetes are identical to the symptoms of dehydration. Symptoms of high blood pressure. Symptoms of epileptic seizure. The symptoms of arthritis. All of these symptoms are identical to dehydration, but it is dehydration in different parts of the body. So think about it. When a baby is born and the baby is fully hydrated, not only is the baby soft, but the baby is also very flexible. That baby's joints can be bent into different ways and the baby feels absolutely nothing. It is because at that stage, the baby's bones, the baby's ligaments are hydrated. So they're flexible. When a person gets older, as a person gets older and become more dehydrated, dehydration from the bone is going to result in the bones becoming stiff. So the bones are not flexible anymore. The bones are now stiff. What's going to happen is that because the bones are now stiff, because the cells in the bones are now stiff, the bones continue to become inflamed. That's the pain that you're feeling, is inflammation. And so some of the persons that we have introduced the protocols to have shared that in less than 1 week, the pain is gone. The pain is gone. Less than 1 week. And so what I've done is I have put together a protocol. And this protocol helps us it's a protocol basically as a question, it's an assessment questionnaire. And once persons fill out the questionnaire, the result allows us to give them a score. And from that score, we will know which one out of the 4 protocols those persons should be introduced to, because that's the person. Anything that can heal you can hurt you. And so what the protocol involves is, it involves structured water. And there's a number of ways to create structured water. So 1 is structured water. 2 is minerals, which is the second thing that is needed to create voltage. One of the reasons why a lot of persons are drinking water and are dehydrated is because the water is void of minerals. So magnesium, potassium, sodium. When you think about the water that is thrown inside the battery, that water is a combination of different minerals, different salts. And so magnesium and potassium are necessary for voltage to be created. And so what happens is that we teach persons to get structured water. All right. And so structured water is that alkaline water that the cells need in order to function. And structured water is H3O2. H3O2. And so once you begin to get the amount of water, I don't even know that you are supposed to be drinking 1 liter of water for every 30 pounds of body weight that you have. If you're having issues with obesity, there's only one natural remedy. You don't need anything. There's one natural remedy. Once you begin to hydrate and put the water in the cells begin to push out everything that shouldn't be there, which is the toxins. And so, once the body is properly hydrated, then every single, because one natural thing about the body is that the body heals itself. So the first question you have to ask is, if you are sick and you are not healing, why am I not healing? First question you have to ask. Why am I not healing? And by the way, cancer, diabetes, all of these labels that we have created outside the body, are not known inside. So the body doesn't see cancer, diabetes, arthritis. The body doesn't know any disease or discomfort by name. So you've got to ask yourself the question, if you have this disease and you are not healing and the body heals itself, why isn't my body healing? And if I have proper understanding of what causes disease, as soon as I begin to make this correction, then I should see my disease being reversed. These are some of the results that we are seeing from these protocols. Because just like the analogy that I gave about the battery, that its voltage was low, and because the voltage was low, that battery was not able initially to turn over the ignition. But as the battery loses more voltage because of trying to start the engine, the light that was coming on initially is now not coming on. The horn that could be blown is now not being blown. And the lower the voltage go is the more the car is developing new or seemingly new problems. And so as the voltage goes lower and there seems to arise more and more new problems, the reality is all of these appearing the new problems is a result of one root cause. If we can fix the one root cause, the headlamp will come on, the windows will wind up, the car will start, and everything will begin to work smoothly. There are not separate problems. There are separate symptoms that are the result of one root problem. And so I want you to understand that the diabetes and the cancer and the arthritis and all of these seemingly multiple problems are the results of one root cause. What is that root cause? That root cause is because we are an electrical being on a cellular level, there is not enough voltage for certain functions to take place. And so it doesn't matter the medicine you take, it doesn't matter the herb that you drink, you cannot heal a weak, depleted, and a dead cell. Healing has to start with, first of all, raising the electrical voltage in the cells. Because once the electrical voltage is raised, that cell can now begin to do three very important things. Three very important things. And that's what I want to talk about, because I don't intend to be on long tonight. Three very important things. One, if the cell voltage is too low, then the cells cannot clean itself. When the cells cannot clean itself, a number of things happens. One of them is that the waste inside the cells cannot come out. And so that cell now begins to become toxic or begins to become acidic. So when they tell us that acidity is the problem, acidity is a symptom of something else. Acidity is the result of low voltage, because the cells could not clean itself. Then what happened is the waste inside the cells couldn't come out, so the cells became acidic, or the waste that is being introduced to the body cannot eliminate it properly, so the body becomes acidic. And there are different stages of acidity. There is mild acidity, moderate acidity, and severe acidity. Let me give you some examples of severe acidity. Severe acidity can manifest itself in the form of cancer, because a healthy cell is alkaline. An alkaline cell has a negative pH value. That's a healthy cell. And that healthy cells, it powers itself using oxygen. So it uses oxygen to power itself. Now, as a cell becomes chronically acidic, the body has an amazing ability to heal itself and to repair itself. So one of the things that the body does is those cells switch polarity from a negative polarity to a positive polarity. That is what a cancer cell is. A cancer cell is a cell with a positive polarity. And so that positive polarity that the cell has, what the body will do when it identifies these cells is that the body will create a receptacle to put those cells in. That receptacle we may cause a tumor. A tumor is nothing but a waste receptacle within the body of cells that have switched from a negative to a positive polarity. And those cells will no longer use oxygen, but they will use sugar. That's why this is said that cancer cells love sugar. So the body builds a container and the body puts those cells in to contain them, so that those cells that are positively charged will not begin to affect the rest of cells in the body that are negatively charged. The intention of the body is to move those cancer cells to the surface and then open the skin where those cells can now leak outside the body like an abscess. Right? Now, that's extremely acidic state of cells. But before cells can become inflamed, because what the body knows is that the body knows that we only respond to pain. All right? So some people experience a lot of pain, chronic pain. That's why those people who are cancerous also experience a lot of pain, because they're in a state of inflammation. And I want to submit here, I just want you to imagine those cells. I want you to imagine them as an aquarium. And you have an aquarium with fish in it. And you notice that the water in the aquarium gets real toxic. Well, the first thing that's going to happen is that the fish is going to get sick. Now, the question is, what are you going to do? Are you going to attend to the fish, or are you going to change the water? Usually, once you change the water, that fish becomes buoyant again, becomes alive again, becomes flexible. Because what happens is that all the cells in our body is immersed in a fluid called blood. And our blood is supposed to be alkaline. 7.2, 7.4, thereabout. That's where the blood is supposed to be. And the body tells us also when the blood is becoming acidic, because once the blood starts to become acidic, then we start to see it on the skin. See boils start to come up. We see it begins to get dull. Begins to show signs that it is becoming acidic. But once you move that acidic blood to an alkaline pH, if you do that long enough, then what happens is that the cells that are inside the blood, the cells now become alkaline. So cancer is really just extreme dehydration. It's another sign of extreme dehydration. Once the body begins to get the oxygen that it needs, once the body's voltage begins to be raised, then you name the diseases. The body heals itself. Some people like to gloat, oh, I have this disease, I have that disease, and they know them by name. Man only complicates things. Our Creator, Yahuwah, simplifies. Very simple. And so if what I'm saying is true, then the minute you start to apply it, then you should start to see results. And what we have been doing is that we have just been sharing with persons, all those persons who have enlarged prostate, all those persons who have chronic disease. We just begin to share with them how to drink water properly. Not even so much herbs, but just how to drink water properly. And we just start to see this ease just begin to reverse. Matter of days. We just start to see the diseases just start to reverse. And so it shouldn't come to us as a surprise. Just like when the battery is low and you jump start it, you're not surprised when you see the car start. You're not surprised when you see the ignition turns over. You're not surprised. Why are we surprised when we see people get healed? We have made it into such a mystery that it seems like something difficult. Healing is very simple. Healing is very easy. As long as we apply the laws of nature and begin to undo the laws that we are breaking, then the body begins to heal itself, and it begins to heal itself naturally, and it begins to heal itself quickly. There are some things that I want to share that this platform is not the place to share it. I'm having a master class coming up. I'm heading out Jamaica for a few days, but when I get back in January, on January 23 to January 31st, we are having a master class where I'm going to share with you, and this is, we only have about 25 spots. The spots are going fast. It's going to be 9 days of in-person training. And I want it to be 9 days because all of those persons who participate, this is not just going to be where I'm going to teach you. I'm going to show you. So if you come and you are diseased, what we share with you, you should start seeing results within days, within hours. Doesn't matter what ailment you have. Doesn't matter what it is. Because I can't heal anybody. I can't take that credit. But what I want to share with you will allow you to see your body. If you're a caregiver, what you are going to learn will allow you to see persons healing in a matter of hours. Because healing is not difficult. Healing should not be happening by chances. Healing should be consistent. Healing should be predictable. Because once you've properly identified which laws are being broken, once these laws are being corrected, then the body should go back to what it does very quickly and naturally, which is heal itself. And if it is that what you are doing is wrong, it will not take place. But I submit to you that we've been seeing some extraordinary, phenomenal results in the past couple of days. Let me be one of the first persons to say that my approach to healing was that it was biochemical. And so we have been achieving phenomenal results through our clinic. But the results have been inconsistent. We've seen excellent results, and I've always questioned, and I've always wondered why, because the formulas are the same. But what I didn't know that varied, I knew but I wasn't paying attention, was the fact that each person that we come in contact with, their cell is at a different voltage. So once you start correcting the cellular voltage first, then the results are consistent and predictable, and they are consistent all the time. I am super excited. You know, I want to say that I was one of those persons who, because of what I do, I too have seen some phenomenal results in my life, in the life of my wife, and in the life of the last set of clients that I've been seeing in the last 2 weeks. The results are no longer inconsistent. The results are consistent. Every single person that we have seen in the last 2 weeks. And I want to give Yahuwah thanks for this knowledge that he has shared with me. And I am super excited to share it with as many persons as is possible. I want to share this knowledge because, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. I was told by the Ruach not to prostitute this knowledge. This is not information for me to prostitute it. Anyone who knows me knows that I believe that healing does not belong to only people who have money and people who are wealthy. Whenever, and in all our clinics are structured always to care for those who don't have it. I don't believe that the only persons who should get help are the persons who can afford it. And if you're listening to me, if you're listening to me, because one thing I want to do is, I won't be here for a while. I'm coming back in a few weeks, and when I come back, so that was one of the words I got: not to prostitute the knowledge that has been entrusted to me, and two, that I should ensure that the spiritual entities, the faith-based entities, the churches should be vehicles through which I work. And so I want to target, because it's sad that so many sick persons are worshiping the Creator. It doesn't look good. It's not a good testimony. It doesn't look good that so many ministers are chronically ill. Doesn't look good. You're serving the Creator, diabetic, hypertensive, cancer. Doesn't look good. Doesn't look good that you are serving the Creator and you use the greatest health book every week. Your lifestyle is based on the greatest health book, yet you are sick. One of the reasons for that is because a lot of you don't know. So one thing I want to do is I want to reach out, if you're listening, if you're in, I want to reach out, first of all, to Jamaican leaders. And I want to help those leaders with cancer, those leaders with diabetes. I want to show them I want them to be some of the recipients. And this is not to mean that healing is for everybody, because healing is the children's bread. Healing is the children's bread. And how often our Father, who art in heaven, give us this day our daily bread. Bread is figuratively seen as a staff of life, as something that somebody should be entitled to in order to live. And so it's sad that there are so many ministers who are sick. When I get back, that which I've been blessed with and that which I've been using to help so many persons. In January, I'm putting on the first workshop to train persons to experience the results that I've been experiencing. What is the experience? One, that healing should be consistent. That healing is not based on a disease by name, because there's no such thing as diabetes and arthritis. All of these are just labels that we have created outside the body. The body doesn't know any of these labels. Epileptic seizure, edema, all of these are just labels that exist outside the body, and they are the result of one root cause. So once the body can't clean itself, then there's inflammation. Body can't clean itself, there's inflammation. Once the cell voltage, once the cell doesn't have the minimum voltage that it needs, the cells can't use raw material that you give to it. Doesn't matter how good the material is, it's just too weak. And so once you begin to increase the cell voltage, and there are different ways to increase the cell voltage. That's what the workshop is about, because what happens is that, let me give you an example. Now, a person with edema, how do you explain a person with swelling, yet the person is dehydrated? How do you explain that? Because there have to be fluid in your foot, fluid in their knees, but yet I'm saying that they're dehydrated. What happens is that there's what we call fluid present in the body but not being absorbed by the cells of the body. So the fluid is outside the cells, not inside the cells. What we want to do is to get the fluid inside the cells. Some people's cellular wall is so damaged that it cannot absorb the fluid. And so there are techniques that you can use to get the body absorption channel and absorption pathway to open up so that it can now begin to accept fluid. It can begin to accept water. There are some persons who cells are so damaged that the mitochondria is damaged. And so the cells, the mitochondria may need healing before healing can take place. So there are different ways to go about. There are different ways to go about getting these functions back on track. For healing to take place, for the cell voltage to begin to raise. For persons who are on medication, there are different ways. For persons with underlying health condition, there are different ways. So this is what the workshop is about. And I wanted to share that with you. It's going to be on the 23rd of January to the 31st of January. I only have about 25 space. There's a link in the description. And just to help persons to secure their space, right now, all you need to do is just to go and register. The link is in the description of the video. Just go there and register. That will at least hold your spot. Because I did this live because I want to be fair. There are persons, and I'm limiting how many persons from one home can attend, or how many persons from one organization that can attend, because I want to share this knowledge with as many persons as is possible, and the space is very, very limited. It's going to be a phenomenal workshop because it's not just going to be information. If you're coming with an underlying health condition, the minute you start the workshop, that ailment will start to reverse the same day. It's going to reverse it the same day. And so by the end of the workshop, we're going to have you testifying and sharing. So we want to send you back home as agents of change. Because guess what happened? There are so many sick, or too many sick persons around us. There are too many persons who have lost hope. And there are too many persons who don't understand when the scripture says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. That we were made in the image of the Creator. Now, being made in the image of the Creator means that He made us with a body that can resolve and that can reproduce life. He is the author of life, and so the body that He gave us is a life-producing body. But this life-producing body needs raw material in order to carry out its function. And so I'm not even going to get the chance to go far into tonight's presentation. But tonight's presentation intended, because I said I'm heading out tomorrow, so I'm actually packing to leave. But I didn't want those persons who knew about this workshop to secure all the spots. I want it to be as fair as possible to as many of you as is possible. I'm looking for persons from the different parts of Jamaica and from outside of Jamaica. If you're living in New York, it's a high Jamaican and Caribbean population. If you're living in Florida, reach out to me. If you're a part of a church, reach out to me. I want to come in and I want to get this knowledge into the churches. Why? Because churches are socially, I call them social equitable institutions. They are communities that serve. These are communities that serve. And so they can use it as a means of ministry. Because did you know the largest nation in the world? Do you know which nation is the largest nation in the world? You can put it in the chat. Anyone of you guys know the largest nation in the world? You're going to be amazed. The largest nation in the world is not what you think. The largest nation in the world, Yahuwah's disciple says Africa. Country, no. Nation. The word for nation is a word, ethnos, means people group. The largest nation in the world is the nation of the sick. The largest nation in the world is the nation of the sick. It's the largest people group in the world. A nation is a group of people defined by common elements. And so in the nation of the sick, everybody in that nation is sick. No. There are some of us who visit that nation, and there are some of us that permanently reside in that nation. So if you get a cold, if you get flu, then you have just visited the nation of the sick. But guess what happened? Even if you visit the nation of the sick, you are not intended to be a resident of the nation of the sick. And so, as believers, as children of the Most High, we have been called to this huge nation to get people to leave the nation of the sick and to cross over into the nation of the healthy. The nation of the sick is a nation comprising of people from every country in the world. There are a lot of Americans, a lot of Trinidad, a lot of Jamaicans that are a part of this nation, the nation of the sick. The nation of the sick does not discriminate against age. So there's a lot of babies, a lot of wealthy people, a lot of poor people, a lot of black, white, Hispanic, Chinese. So a lot of people. This nation is a very big nation. But this nation was not created by the Most High. The nation of the sick was not created by the Most High. And that is the reason why you have to begin to ask the question. If you are a believer, if you claim to be a believer, why are you a part of the nation of the sick? If you are a minister, why are you a part of the nation of the sick? Because the nation of the sick is not of the Most High. He didn't create it. The nation of the sick comprises of people who have done one thing. The nation of the sick comprises of people who have done only one thing. These persons either have done it or they continue doing it. These persons who are a part of the nation of the sick have broken laws. They have broken the laws that were designed to keep them in the nation of the healthy. And so if you have broken laws of health, then you end up visiting the nation of the sick. But if you continue to break laws, whether you know it or not, if you continue to break laws, then you end up becoming a citizen of the nation of the sick. Now, what I want to do is I want to share with you those laws that ignorantly you have broken and show you from not only the word of Yah, but allow you to experience for yourself that once you have come back into alignment with those laws that you have broken, then you are automatically expelled from the nation of the sick into the nation of the healthy. And one of the fundamental laws that most people break, that they don't know, is the woman at the well who met the Savior, met the Messiah, Yeshua. Yeshua told her about living water. But one of the fundamental laws that we have broken is that in order to hydrate, when we get thirsty, we drink dead water. We drink water that is dead and has no vitality and has no life. And we believe that by drinking dead water, we can sustain life. Our ancestors never drank dead water. Our ancestors drank living water. Really ask, where can you find living water? If you go to the spring, the water that is coming from the earth is alive. It's living water. It has the molecular structure that is needed by our body. Because remember, we came from the earth. You know, when a baby, when a woman gives birth to an offspring, it nourishes that offspring with the fluid that comes from herself. When animals have offspring, they do the same thing. Guess what? We're offspring of the earth. We came from the earth. And so the nourishment that we need, the water that we need, the breast milk that we need, comes from the earth because we are children of the earth. That's where the plants get their water. The plants get their water from the earth. So they're planted in the earth. That's where they get their water. We come from the earth, but we get our water from bottles that we buy. So the water doesn't have any life. One of the first laws that we are breaking is that we are drinking dead water with the belief that it's going to sustain us. The water that is found in all living things is structured water. What makes spring water structured is that it's alive. If you have an aquarium and there's a pump that is agitating the water, that fish is going to die. That pump that is inside the water is what is giving life to the water by agitating the water, by the water moving. That water has what the fish needs in order to stay alive. When you go to the river is not stagnant. The river is moving. The water is moving. There are bubbles in the water. And so, one of the fundamental things that we need in order to lift our voltage is we have to drink structured water. And some call it water in a gel form. So as I said, any fluid that comes in your body, if you just do like this, it forms a string. Because it's structured, because it has 3 hydrogen ion. If you get in a plant and do the same thing, structured. So one of the things that we are doing wrong, and many people say, oh, I'm drinking water, but what type of water are you drinking? Then there is the way that we drink water. Yes, the way that we drink water. If there's anybody on this show watching that's a farmer, they'll tell us recently when, because of what's happening with the world now, because of the studies that have been taking place, they found out that most times when persons go to water the plant, most of the water that is added to the plant has not been absorbed by the plant. And so they came up with a very effective remedy or solution that has proven to be very effective. It's called a drip system. And what they found out is that when a plant is given water in a very timely, consistent method, the plant absorbs more water than if it was just poured on the plant. And so the drip system, which is what is called a microdosing. They found out that by microdosing plants, the plant literally absorbed more water than when it is poured on. Most people drink water when they are thirsty, and most people, when they are drinking water, because they wait until they are thirsty, they put the water to their head and they gulp the water. So what happens is that most of the water bypasses the cells for which it is intended and goes right into the bladder, right into the toilet bowl. So a lot of persons who think that they are drinking a lot of water are still very dehydrated. This is one of the fundamental laws that most of you who say that you are sick are breaking, and that is the reason why you are sick. And I can prove it. I can prove it. Before I close the show, I'm going to teach you how to drink water. And I'm going to ask you to come back, share with me. And I will prove it to you. If you have arthritis, if you're diabetic, if you're hypertensive, if you have cancer, doesn't matter what the disease you have. Once you begin to increase the voltage, once you begin to hydrate the body, once the body becomes alkaline, all of these diseases which are the result of acidity just begins to reverse naturally, one by one. Now if, not maybe, not a percentage, it begins to happen naturally. So the quality of the water matters. The next thing is that water was intended to be a carrier of minerals. Your body cannot be hydrated if that water does not have minerals. One of the reasons why so many people are sick is not only because they drink or gulp the water, it is because the water that they drink lack minerals. Because you lack minerals, you can't be hydrated. Two of the most important minerals that is needed for electricity to be produced in the body is magnesium and potassium. And so once you lack these minerals, then the body's voltage will not be where it is supposed to be. And, guys, once you begin to understand it, mankind is what complicates. Healing is very, 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 very simple. We are the ones that come up with these big terms and big words and big formulas. But healing is supposed to be simple. Because our Creator is very simple. Profound, but it's very simple. We like to think that we're smart, so we like to complicate things. And by complicating things, those who can't understand the complication have the perception that they are lesser intelligent. And that in order to be a healer, one has to be intelligent. Did you know, when I remember how I got into the field, I remember I got gallstones, and after I developed gallstones, I remember when I got the gallstone, I asked myself the question, because I knew about so many things. The average person, most of you watching, have more knowledge about your bank book, have more knowledge about car, have more knowledge about politics than you do about your own health. Most of you know more about far less important topics than you do about your own body. I know that because I was one of those persons. I didn't know much about my body because I was never sick. The first time I became sick was when it dawned on me that, hey, they told me I had gallstones, and every time I remember this, that is the reason why I work the way that I work. Because I know that there are many persons who, when they receive their diagnosis, when they are told what happened to them, what overwhelms them is the fact that they know nothing about what they've been told. Absolutely nothing. So I was told I had gallstones, and I didn't know what it means. But what I knew was to have stones inside you must be really bad. So I was traumatized when I was told that I had gallstones. That was what brought me into this field. I had gallstones. Gallstones. What does that mean? Did it mean that I'm gonna die? Did it mean that I was really sick? And mark you, anyone who has suffered gallstone and experienced the pain that you feel, and you hear that you have gallstones, you know that's not good. You begin to worry, you begin to fear. That's what happened to me. And so I began to ask myself questions. Why was I in this position? Because I never look at what happened to me. I always look at why it happens. Because my approach to life is that life is a school. So everything that happens is a lesson. I'm being taught something. So I want to ask not the what, but the why question. Why did this happen to me? How did I end up in this position of not knowing anything about health? And if you question me about politics, at the time I was learning website designing, I was learning graphic editing, I was learning so many things, and I didn't know anything about my body. How did I end up here? You know the answer that I got? The answer that I got was way back when I was going to primary school, or maybe even before that. What do you mean? When I was going to primary school, I would hear this statement a lot. Boy, this child is bright. It looks as if he's going to be a doctor. Now, some of you may not know, but I learned to read when I was 12 years old. That's when I learned to read. For most of my life, I couldn't read. Went to school, made fun, had fun, couldn't read. So when they made the statement that this child is bright, he or she is going to be a doctor, I deductively concluded from that in order to know anything about your health, you have to be bright. And that is the assumption and that I made and that so many people make why they don't know anything about their health. My assumption from then growing up was that knowing about one's health is the responsibility of a set of persons who are bright. And since I am not bright, it's not my responsibility. And what I did was that I grew up placing the responsibility of my health in somebody else's hand. And there's many persons watching right now who are in that position, who believe it's not their responsibility to know anything about their health, because if they get sick, there's a group of persons who are brilliant, who have been trained, and to whom that responsibility belongs. Only to find out that your health is your responsibility. Your health is too important for you to delegate to somebody else. And this is in no way to undermine medical doctors or the medical system, because the medical system is phenomenal and medical doctors can be phenomenal. But the pitfall that affected me and that has affected so many persons is the belief that in order to know anything about your health, you have to be brilliant. Now, one of the reasons why that is done is not just what's the word now? People don't just think that way naturally. There has been a lot intentionally to allow people to think that way. And a lot of what has been done intentionally is to complicate what is simple so that people who are not well learned will believe that because they don't understand certain terms or because they can't understand certain words, that the knowledge of their health is beyond them. But I want to submit to you that healing is very simple because healing comes from our Creator. It's very simple. Healing is very simple. Man has tampered with healing and they have complicated it because they want to throw you off. They want you to think that it is something difficult, because once you think that it is something difficult, in a way, that's how they create value for themselves. So you have to seek them out. You have to go to them. But we need to understand that healing is very simple. When you begin to understand how simple healing is, then you begin to understand how easily it can be achieved. The medical system would never want you to think that achieving healing is easy and simple. They want you to think that it's complex, because that alone justifies why you have to pay that amount of money. People pay for things that are scarce, that are difficult, that are hard. Nobody would want to pay a lot of money for something that is simple and easy. So if healing was ever seen as being simple and easy, people would never pay the amount of money that the system wants them to pay. And the fundamental law is the body heals itself. So once you begin to understand these principles that we are violating ignorantly, as I said before, healing comes consistently. Healing comes predictably, because healing is based on a technology. Healing is based on a technology. That is why the scripture says, for there is nothing new under the sun. When the scripture says that there is nothing new under the sun, the scripture is saying that there is no new technology. There are new application of existing technology, but there is no new technology under the sun. So when they wanted to understand how to make the aeroplane, they studied the bird. They studied the technology of the bird to apply it to making plane. When they wanted to make the computer, they studied the technology of the brain, and when they studied it, they only applied new application to the existing technology. That is how the computer is created. The car, even now we say cars have certain amount of horsepower. Every technology that we have is a new application of an existing principle. And so healing is based on a technology. Once you understand the technology of the body, it's like any other technology. When I take out my phone and dial a number, the person who made the phone understand principles, that when the principles were applied, the result was consistent. Every time you dial that number, the result is going to be the same. The phone is going to ring on the other end of the line. In other words, if I take up my phone and I dial a particular number and I don't get the same person, I get a different person, then that is going to seem to be odd. Why? Because we have a basic understanding that once technology is applied, the result is cyclical, consistent, and predictable. So the same thing should happen to healing. Healing should be predictable, consistent, and cyclical. And I want to submit to you that why it has not been predictable, cyclical, and predictable is because our approach has been wrong. Our approach to healing has been from a biochemical approach. The approach should be from an electrical approach. So most persons know Dr. Sebi. And one thing you know about Dr. Sebi was he was very confident. Why is it that Dr. Sebi was so confident? Why was he so successful? Because he understood the technology of healing. And so because he understood the technology of healing, there was absolutely no case that you could bring to him that when he applied the principles, the result was not the same healing. Because even though they brought names and labels to him, he understood the technology and he applied it. And in every instance, the result was the same. So cyclical, predictable, and consistent. The result was healing. So Dr. Sebi was in the business of helping people to migrate from the nation of the sick to the nation of the healed, to the nation of the healthy. Now, and I'm not trying to allow any church to be wrong or to feel wrong or to, not just church, but faith-based organizations that represent the Creator. Faith-based organizations should be the place where people come to get their healing, not only spiritually, but physically and otherwise. And the result should be consistent. It shouldn't be this person was prayed for that they got a result and that person. No, the result should be consistent, cyclical, and predictable. That is not happening and that needs to change. And I want to give thanks to Yahuwah who has blessed me with the knowledge that he has imparted to me. And I want to share that knowledge. As I say, I'm taking a break because why do I need to share that knowledge? I need to share that knowledge because I realize that the people in the nation of the sick have developed a habit of breaking the laws of health. And so any successful program to help persons to transition from the nation of the sick must have a program that is geared towards helping people in reversing those habits. Habits can be very difficult. And so, even our practice, we realize we're going to need coaches. We're going to need, we can write out the principle of how to help people to transition from the nation of the sick. But what has happened to these persons is that they have developed a habit. So a lot of persons, some know what to do, but they are a victim of a habit. So a habit is keeping them in the nation of the sick. And so critical to our program is we have developed the ICM Wellness Coaching Program. And the ICM Wellness Coaching Program is designed to create coaches that going forward, what we are now going to do is that when we have persons and we identify their sickness, we are going to pair those persons with a coach who will work with them for the next 90 days. to help them to come out of the nation of the sick. Because we know that when you eat a particular way, you think a particular way that keeps you there. And as soon as your eating habit begins to change, as soon as your lifestyle begins to change, your thinking pattern begins to change, and you're going to have the willpower to leave the nation of the sick. Some of you have been citizens for 10, 15, 20, 25 years, 30 years, and you have become comfortable in that nation. You only get uncomfortable when you feel pain. But for the most part, you're comfortable. But we want to share with you the laws that you have broken and show you how you can leave that nation. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, if you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, I'm looking for a group of persons, 25 persons. So we have 25 slots. And there's a link in the description there. There are some persons who have told me I have maybe about, out of the 25, nearly 10 persons. As I began to share, persons say, I want to be a part of it. So I just said, no. I want to be fair. I want to be fair. So I'm doing this presentation because I want to be fair to not only who I know, but I want to be fair to somebody because some of who I know may not be the most neediest person initially, because everybody needs to know. And if you're watching and if you're in New York area, I want you to reach out to me. I'm going to put my number on the screen. It's my assistant. It's not about the money. And I'm basically just giving away this knowledge because I've been told not to prostitute it. So I'm not going to prostitute it. If you're a part of a church, I want to do two things. I'm going to make you an offer. What I want to do is to first come and find all the leaders who are sick. Very kind. From love from India. Thank you. I want to find all those persons who are sick, all the leaders. We're going to reverse their sickness first. And then I want to raise up coaches within those churches who can now help members of the community. Because you are churches, some of you can do it for free. That's how I want to be able to help the poor. So I'll come and I'll help you. It doesn't matter what it is. I'll show you how. Show you how to reverse diabetes. To show you how to reverse all these things. I can't do it. I can't do it. But your body can reverse it. And I see Yeshua's disciples. Oh, there's a book. There's also a book that I've written. It's called the Cellular Hydration Revolution. It's on Amazon. The link is also in the description if you're watching on YouTube. Yeshua disciple says he's at chapter 4. But in the workshop, I go into far more because there are two books that I've written on Amazon. One deals with the protocols. The other deals with the lifestyle, the eating. These two books are going to be the textbook for the program. But there's going to be far more that you're going to be getting. I'm going to be teaching you hacks. How to hack into the body. Let me give you one. Now, remember I said that the body recognizes what proceeds from it. So, based on your weight, so for every 30 pounds that you weigh, your body needs 1 liter of water. So there's 1 liter of water that you need for every 30-pound body weight. But guess what happens now? Because we've not been drinking the volume of water that we're supposed to be drinking, one of the things that the body does is that the body shuts down its absorption pathway. So even though you may know that you're supposed to be consuming 1 liter for every 30 pounds, if you try it, your body will not absorb it. Why won't the body absorb it? The body will not absorb it because your absorption pathway is closed off. In order for you to drink that much water, it's going to take you roughly about a month of microdosing until you build up to that amount. Now, one of the ways that we get the body to absorb the water that it needs is we trick the body. Here's how we trick the body. Every time you swallow, you are swallowing water in the form of saliva. And that saliva is already structured. So it's structured water. That's why if you were to take out your saliva and go like this, you would see it form that string. It's because of the 3 hydrogen particles that are there. That's what happens. So one thing we do is that we teach persons to fill their mouth with water, to switch it around, and to mix the water that they put in their mouth with their saliva, so that their body thinks that the mouthful of water is a mouthful of saliva. And when you begin to slowly swallow that water, most of that water will go into the cells because the body recognizes it or thinks that it is just saliva. These are some of the hacks that we're going to teach you to increase absorption. And as you begin to absorb all of those maladies that you have subscribed to by name, they just begin to reverse one by one by one by one by one. It is amazing. There are persons right now who don't believe me because what I'm saying sounds too good to be true or it's too simple. It's the experience that I'm having and it's the experience that I'm seeing. These are some of the hacks that we want to share with you. We want to share with you how to open or to reopen those channels that have been closed. Because in order for those channels to be open, you're going to need minerals taken in a particular way for those channels to be open. Once those channels begin to open, so you're on medication, it's also going to affect the dosage of medication. So there's things that I want to share with you that I can't share on this platform, that I really want to share with you in our upcoming masterclass. It's a masterclass. The training, I want to meet you physically because after about a year of you getting the training and experiencing the results, we also want you to go on to train persons. So this training is going to be a trainer's training. It's going to be a trainer's training. I want to see you face to face so that I can share with you some things that I can't share on a public platform like this. I want you to be the witnesses to seeing persons dis-ease being reversed before your very eyes. Chronic disease being reversed before your very eyes. I'm not even going to go into herbs. And some of you have done the herbology training. Um, that's by itself. So 2026, I believe, is going to be an exciting year. And I want to just say thanks to the Most High Himself, who has shared and entrusted me with this wisdom and this knowledge. And I want to do my utmost best to share it with as many of you as is possible, so that you can go and share it with those persons who need it. Again, as I said, if you're in anywhere we have large Jamaican or Caribbean communities, I believe healing is the children's bread. Healing is for everybody, everybody. But I want to start with my people first, and it's not being selfish. I want to start with my people first. That's in no way intend to come across as being selfish or racial or prejudiced. But if you check the highest cancer rate in the world, it so happens to be among my people. If you check the highest diabetic, hypertension, nearly every disease common to man. If you check every people group, it's highest among my people group. And so I have to, as I said, Pastor, Christian faith pick me first. I'm willing to share it as many persons as possible. It doesn't matter race, creed, color, religion, doesn't matter. But my focus is going to be on my people first. I am hoping to be in Ghana March 15 or 16. I mean, for 10 days, I'm hoping to be in Ghana. If you're here from Africa and you're watching, if you're in the States, we're having a trip to Ghana. There's a link in the description if you'd love to come. It's a reconnection trip. I'd love to have you, because I intend to go back there and I intend to connect with my roots and to bring and to share the knowledge that the Most High has shared with me there as well. I want to thank you for being on. I'm on much longer than I thought. Thank you for being on, and I want you to share this video with as many persons as possible. As I said, guys, as predictable, and as consistent and as duplicable as the result is, to dial a number and get the results, to press the remote and change the channel. As predictable as that technology is, healing is no different, or it should be no different. Healing is based on a technology that when the principles are applied, the results are just the same. I want to give you thanks for you being here, and I hope that the session tonight was a blessing to you. I hope that you learned. Didn't get a chance to go into the presentation. So I have 2 books on Amazon, Vanessa. Look in the description on the YouTube, this video, description of this video. Both links are there. The Jamaica recipe guide. It's gonna be one of the textbook for the training, and also there is the cellular hydration. That's what I'm talking from. The cellular hydration revolution. That's what I'm talking from. It's in the I go in depth into sharing with persons what they need in order to begin to heal themselves. And as I said, I'm excited. I'm working with as I said, I want to tell you things that I can't tell you. I'm seeing some exciting stuff with persons that I'm doing some work with now, and I'm seeing them healed every single solitary day. It's amazing. It's miraculous. And one thing that has changed is that my approach to healing is not that maybe it works now, or it may be It may be that some is in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 6 months, but it's going to come. We can't use the word guarantee, but it's sad that we can't use it. Because if we dial a particular number, we can say, I guarantee I'm going to get this person. The dial number, I get the person. If you're watching the TV and want to change channel, we can say, I can guarantee you, it's going to go to the, I'm going to press 9 and the TV is going to channel 9. I can guarantee you. It's sad that we can take a battery that has lost all its charge, and I can say to you, I can guarantee you that if I charge my phone and plug it in, it's going to come on. It's sad that we can talk about all of these technologies with such confidence, but the system is wired and has muzzled us in such a way where if we talk about healing in the same way, we can find ourselves in prison. It's sad. That was not accidentally done in that way. It was intentional. Somebody wants us to think that healing is not consistent, predictable, and cyclical. Somebody wants us to believe that. Think about it. If the same person is telling you that the body heals itself, it's an established law. The body heals itself. If the body heals itself, that's a fact. The body heals itself. That's a fact. Western medicine, every medicine agrees on that premise. It's one thing that we agree on. The body heals itself. So if a person is not being healed, the most logical question is, why isn't that person's body, why isn't that person healing himself? Why? When we begin to ask that question, we begin to go to the root cause of healing. Somebody wants us to think that it is something foreign that has to come. Some drugs, some medicine, some herbs. Not just medical doctors, but a lot of herbalists want you to think that in order to get better, you need this particular herb. And I know that herb. And they charge you. Somebody wants you to think that, oh, you can get better, but guess what? In order for you to heal, it's so difficult. But there is a vitamin or a supplement. And I know what that supplement is. Or I have that supplement. When we were born, we were never born taking that supplement. So, it's not only the medical industry, the nutraceutical industry has taken on that approach as well. And even herbalists, without knowing, have taken on that approach. The belief that healing is biochemical. Healing is not biochemical. Healing is electrical. And I want to leave that with you. And I hope to see you in our upcoming masterclass. That's January 23 to 31st. I have only 25 spots. And it's going to be first come, first serve. The prices are there. There's a link in the description. The prices are there. I know some person may not have the money. So what I've done is I've just put the registration, which is a part of the cost. Once you register, you have secured your spot. Once you've registered, then you would have gotten your spot. So, guys, I want to thank you for being on, and I hope to see you in our upcoming retreat. Have a good night. Bye-bye.